on the media and how it's portraying society, because the entertainment world and Hollywood especially, how they're pumping out new movies and new TV shows portraying people's families, people's societies, and what they go through on a regular basis, right? They're basically showing you what has happened to the world, right? They're not just playing movies to entertain you. They're playing movies to tell you that these things are actually going around in the world and it's happening. Some may be in your town, maybe in your area, but it happens all around the world. So understand that these movies have a great amount of knowledge put behind them, right? Through Steven Spielberg, I remember he has many libraries in London where he has many books on occult subjects and different pieces of knowledge in order to produce these movies, because it takes a tremendous amount of thinking and knowledge to get these movies together and write the scripts, etc., and find the right actors to portray them. So Hollywood has become a very great industry to portray man's overall goal to life, but it's ultimately a way to look at it in the right way, or look at it in a way of deceptive mindset of trying to be that, because you can't be that, because that's a fake reality. It's not a reality TV show. No, that's just how the script is. Whatever is in front of the camera is never what's going on in real life, right? When people are in front of a camera, especially on television, they're paid to be in front of that camera, meaning that it's an act. They have studied what to do, they have the script, everything is all written down. So even the music industry, how do you feel, Tyler? How do you think that has
changed? Wondering, what are your thoughts on controversial?
The society that we live in is simply the cultivation of the collectiveness in the way they think, their attitude. So if all of our attitudes are positive and within one another and all in tune with the truth, then maybe things can change for our betterment. But if we continue to go our selfish ways, live our egotistical lives where it's unauthentic, and we're portraying someone that has been put on television, or someone that's been singing in a rap song or rapping in a rap song, then you're never going to get to your true spirit. You're never going to get to your true divine connection, which you need to enroll in and uplift your spirit to a different chakra, to a different consciousness. There's stages in your consciousness. There's stages in your mind where you begin to connect more to the spirit and begin to see things in a more abstract and canvas way, where you step back and you look at the world as a whole picture, not as a small picture and as a fragments as they did put you in schools by giving you distorted information. So
do you believe that these secret societies, like for example the Freemasons and the Skull and Bones Society, have molded society via the media and these social architects?
Yes, I do believe that, and the reason why I say that is because the fact is, through social media and these different social media databases found on the internet and on mobile devices, has allowed these celebrities or these idol figures to get a close relation with their fans, through pictures and tweets, etc. So through that, it has ultimately allowed people to begin to psychologically connect with these celebrity idols and feel what they're feeling, and ultimately you begin to realize they're just like you. Right? They're not any different. They're just have a better talent that has allowed them to get a particular position in life, to get an interest from the fans that support them ultimately, because at the end of the day they wouldn't be there without the fans that have supported them there. So at the end of the day, we all make each other, but if we don't realize that, we can't go anywhere, because as Tupac said, I love my brother, but we can't go anywhere unless we share with each other. This is a one for all for one goal. We all have to go in it for each other, because there's the tactic, and it's called the art of war. It's called divide and conquer. They don't want you to come together and share a common goal. They don't want you to come together and, share a common purpose. They don't want you to do that. They want you to simply compete and, try to get a better position than anybody else, flaunt whatever you have, and, just simply live a better life than anybody else, but not come together and share and build wealth within one another. We don't have that no more. But it's a very earth-shaking world that we live in. But it's gonna continue to get worse if we do not, enlighten the youth, enlighten the young people, because the young people are the ones who have the drive and the connection and the sensitivity to, be aware of what's going on and not, fall asleep, if we were to say, because that is what's going on, because you just simply buying in totally 1000% in the system, where you just do whatever the system does. You go to school, you go to work, and you just, when you get home, you just tap yourself straight into a system or a console or whatever the system has made for you, and you just tap in there 24/7. You don't have a free mind, and you do not read, you don't study, you do not go out into nature, you do not open your mind. Then ultimately that's just going to lead to a path of destruction, because you're not truly getting your personal sense, your personal purpose on this life. You're basically living for someone else. The money you have in your pocket is not yours. It's debt, meaning that every single dollar that's in your pocket is someone else's. It's just that simple, and you have someone else's dollars. It's just a chain of exchange. It goes in one hand and out to the next. If you ask me, it's the same money. So that's just what it is. It just flows. Money is water. It's called the liquid asset, the cash flow, the currency. That's why there's two banks on each side of a river. They're called river banks. They direct the flow of the currency, the water, the liquid asset. So that's what it is.
Precisely, and I would like to make a couple quotes from Adolf Hitler. He said, "Control the media, you control the masses." And he also said, "Through proper propaganda, you can get people to believe anything." What are your thoughts on Mr. Adolf Hitler's ideologies?
For Adolf Hitler, I believe that he has some very intensive quotes, but they're very logical and very philosophical with the deep thinkings, because he truly thinks within the etymologies of these words and begins to implement them in such a way that's so miraculous, and it is being used today, right, in our society. So that philosophies are just if you control the youth, you control the future. Forget about the old, forget about the people who are who are older, but control the youth, the ones who are going to lead the future and ultimately change the generation. That's why there's generation this, generation that, generation before that have simply not educated themselves of the generation that has came before them. So they don't have the strength or the knowledge to fight back, because there's so much stuff that's been going on in history that people just don't know. And it takes someone who has read and has studied and has dedicated their life towards these subjects to uplift their mind to a greater conscious that's far above any degree, any piece of paper which a system can give you. Because I believe strongly that this is the type of knowledge that will begin to manifest into wisdom. It will begin to manifest into practice on the world. And once anyone can live with wisdom, then the world may change, because knowledge is what the system is living by. Knowledge was what people are living by. Knowledge is simply practical, meaning that you just have to practice it at a job. You go to school, you learn knowledge. That's it. You don't learn wisdom, you learn knowledge. You learn knowledge, that's what's going to practice you at your work. That's why your work or your job is called the practice. When you are a general, practitioner, what does that mean? You're a general, physician. You're a general practitioner. You do the general job of what a physician does at a clinic or at a hospital. General labor. It's all practical, period. You just learn what you need to screw and when to screw and when and who to kiss and when to kiss, and that's all it is. It's just teaching you your system structure that you must obey by, your code of conduct, and you'll get paid. And you're just exchanging that for a way to live. But ultimately, the system is there, and it's either you can awaken yourself and continue to live the system, yes, but keep a eye of an awareness, keep an eye of structure and open from it. Don't allow your freedoms to get to you, because ultimately the American people has basically fallen in love with the American dream, and they have let these masters creep up and plan all these insurance companies and banks and ultimately come into America and destroy it. So I'm telling you that we have to wake up and we have to realize that this stuff has been going on for a long time. And from Adolf Hitler's perspective, he said, control the media and you control the lives of the people, because the media is what controls what the people are thinking, because it's called centralized thinking, centralized knowledge. And that's what Adolf Hitler very believed. It was propaganda. That was his tool, and he perfected it, and that's what gained him his power and ultimate rule.
Precisely. And do you believe that the United States and the Canadian corporation operate under the same ideologies as Hitler's Nazi parties did?
Yes, in a way, but I believe it's a more technological way, because Adolf Hitler and them, they lived in a time where there wasn't television, there was depression, people didn't have money, people had cars, so at that time, it was less integral, and people didn't have news and stuff like that to watch. But now in our time, we have all that. We have internet, we have news, we have television, we have everything. So it's telling you that America is practically doing the same thing as what Hitler has did in his philosophies, but in a more technological way, in a way which we can't escape, in a way which we, have dedicated our life to and have supported. We're the ones who buy these CDs. We're the ones who are supporting these people. That's what it is. It's for their better interests. Okay? It's called centralized banks. All the money at the end of the day goes back to the same hand who issued it. It's just that simple. It's always been like that. You may think you have all the money in the world, but at the end of the day, all the money in the world goes back to the same man who issues it. The victor writes the book. So,
clarification purposes for people who may not know the true meaning that you're trying to extract when you say the word light, do you mind just giving meaning to the public about the meaning of the word light?
Light in the ancient context always meant one who holds great wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, because the one who's enlightened is the one who sees things not only in the dark, but sees things in the world, because the world is in dark. So from that, the one who is enlightened is the one who is able to see ultimately what's going on this earth. I'm not saying that everyone will see it, but as the Bible said, where there's no vision, the people will perish. And what are we talking about vision? We're not talking about you seeing your car, seeing your home, seeing civilization. We're talking about seeing in depth, seeing the superstructure of the system which you live in. Because if you do not see it, or you fail to see it, you're simply becoming a slave to a system which you do not understand. And it's now being in the hands of the people who know what's going on, who are aware and is actually in power through their awareness. The power comes from the awareness, and ultimately it leads to a path of chaos and distress. But ultimately, one must begin to understand that the young people do not have the knowledge, and they're seeking for it, they're sincere about it, but they're not given anything. And I believe that the system of education is purposely designed to dumb down the mind, because I've been to so many high schools, so many schools over my life, and I've realized that they're just white, rich, Caucasian, black, Hispanic, just any type of race, and they're doing anything to just get out of the school because they realize there's nothing there. Their spirit is longing for this kind of wisdom and knowledge, but they're either out partying and totally under the influence, but not realizing that they have to read and study and educate where they have come from, so they can ultimately know where they're going and know where they're going for their children and their offspring. So, that's all I can say based on the light aspect. But the light aspect has been killed, and it has died in many forms. And I believe we, as the people of the age of revealing, the age of lightning, the age of Aquarius coming, we need to begin to wake up, because this dark age of Pisces and the age of religion has cost millions upon trillions of people to lose casualty and to lose money, finance, wealth, and richness, etc. So I believe this religious institutions, these religious orders need to diminish, but it's going to take highly educated citizens to see what's going on and to fight back.
Precisely, and I would like to add to that, based on a more physical level, what the human being uses their eyes to do is see. However, it's the awareness, it's the consciousness, and it's the mind that perceives. What these religious institutions are doing now is that they are telling people to get in tune with their mind and think about the repercussions of doing what goes against the better interests of these institutions. However, they're not telling people that what constitutes you as an individual is your soul, your consciousness, and your awareness. And consciousness doesn't have a grasp on religion. If an individual is spiritually in tune, there is no religion, because ultimately every religion in the history of existence is ultimately worshipping the same force.
I totally agree with that. And the more one begins to educate, the more one begins to look back at where he has come from, the more one begins to see lies everywhere. And from that, it will begin to allow you to open your eyes to the esoteric knowledge and begin to seek it, because ultimately, when you see lies everywhere, you begin to understand that the knowledge which is given to us is given to us in such fragments where teachers and the educational system will think that they're holding the robes of knowledge and have all the knowledge, but in point of fact, no. They have either very small parts of the knowledge, or they're either learning, or they're either not in that prime to teach. Because teaching, in my opinion, is probably one of the critical and most important profession the human man has ever known. Because teaching is in everybody. Every mother was once a teacher. Every father was once a teacher. But how are we not even teaching our children anymore? Our children are simply becoming children of the state. They take your children away from when you're 4, and they begin to raise that child upon their standards, upon their, views of how that child should be, and ultimately teach that child to be politically correct. Dress like everyone else, think like everyone else, and, ultimately play fair and square. Because that's what we're taught in school, to play fair and square, play four square, play all of these games that include a square to teach us that if you do anything that allows you to get outside of that square, there will be some sort of consequence. And I'm not on here to say that one must go against the law. I believe the law was put here purposely, and it was put here to guide us in a good direction. But through the lack of knowledge and through the ignorance of the law, people land into trouble. So next time you even get into trouble, think before you even get into trouble, so you won't even have to aid yourself when you're there. Because ultimately, if you do not know, then you're going to have to either pay someone, or you're going to have to get someone to talk for you, because you have no knowledge whatsoever of how you got there, why you're there, And I'm just speaking to anybody who, has any trouble within the system, either in the judicial system, the court system, or in just financial, disarrangement. But ultimately, the knowledge is up to you.
That's right, and to add to that, what the educational system does is they put people into classes, and they put people into compartments. For example, there's the art class, the history class, the geography class, the math class. Everything is different. So the teachers now at the higher levels only teach one subject, and therefore they do not think, how is this educational system as a whole? To resort to the Bible says we must go back to our old ways. With that being said, great teachers, some of the greatest teachers in the history of Earth, Hypatia, Pythagoras, Socrates, Manly Palmer Hall, for example, the way that they teach is they get with the students and they discuss matters of existence, and they allow the students to be in a higher state of consciousness, having a higher frequencies. But when it's compartmentalized, like how the educational system does it today, it keeps people in very small frequencies, and it keeps people in a state of mind rather than in a state of consciousness.
To add to that, one must begin to understand that in America, in North America speaking, we're talking about the Western civilization. The type of educational system which we have in the Western civilization is called OBE, objective or outcome based education, in the sense that the system or the board, the Ministry of Education, only cares about the outcome. They don't care about the input. They don't care about what they put in. They care about the outcome, the grades, the standards, whatever comes out of these schools. And as the Bible says very clearly, by their fruits you shall know them. So look at the fruitage of the educational system. Look at what's actually coming out of these classrooms. Look at the type of students which the educational system is producing, and realizing that the students which the educational system is producing is unlogical, very low self-esteem, and lack of spiritualness is coming out of the educational system. The system of education today in the Western civilization is totally bankrupt. It's just making humans into slave workers. But they may have intelligence behind their job. Yes, that's correct. But do they even think at their job? That's the question. But ultimately, one must seek the truth. And once you seek the truth, maybe the truth will come to seek you. And you'll go to that crossroads which I have met many years ago in my life, and many individuals have went through those crossroads as well. And that's the time where you have a choice to either make between serving the Spirit, walking in the Spirit way, or walking in the man's way and serving man, doing whatever man says to do on this earth. And if that means working 9 to 5 until you see pension, or if that even doesn't come, but you still work, well, so be it. But realize that you will miss out on so much things, so much knowledge, so much concepts, ideas that the world has always had and has always been left as a mystery that you didn't choose to seek. And you'll end up leaving this earth, with a very crass heart in regret, because you'll begin to understand that now you're going in front of the Creator. Now you're going in front of the divine essence. You can't bring none of this religion stuff in front of the essence. You can't bring none of this educational system of today's life in front of the divine Creator. There's no way in hell the divine Creator is going to even look at that. You have to come to the divine Creator with a humble, spiritual, intelligent heart and mind state that embraces the light, embraces the truth, and puts the truth and light in their heart and lives upon that. That is the type of people who are going to reach and go and forth the divine Creator, because as Jesus said, I am the truth and the light, and no one will see the Father unless he goes through me. So you as Christians, as anybody who claims to follow Christ, you must go through the truth and the light in your life, as he said in the scriptures, in order to see the Father. So
I completely agree with you. And I would like to add to that a quote from King Solomon. King Solomon said, "To chase wealth is to chase wind," meaning that you never reach wealth. Therefore, one must realize that the human, what we truly are, is a consciousness and awareness. When a bird flies from one country to the next country, it doesn't know this is Canada, this is USA, this is Africa. It just knows, okay, this is land, this is water, this is a tree, etc., etc. And one must realize that we are all one. This spiritual connection with God, it comes, only you can find it within yourself. A religious institution cannot find it. If a religious institution needs money, then it is corrupt, period. Because a spiritual connection with God is divine and doesn't need a price tag. Why does the Vatican need $2 billion? Why does churches need money? When the spiritual connection is divine, it's free. It's one with oneself and with the Spirit. This truth.
Yeah, that's exactly right, because one must understand that we are in the age of information, meaning that ignorance is a choice, because we are at the point in human history where we are privileged enough to be given absolute knowledge. We have knowledge in the palm of our fingertips. But why is it that having all this knowledge of being exposed to all this material information, right, all around the world, you could be in Egypt and you could research stuff all over the world just over a computer, right? And having all of this knowledge, why is it that we are more ignorant than we have ever been? Because of the fact we have sold our souls, we have sold our own spirit for a bag of goods. And that's what it all has come down to. We have sold our own humanity for a bag of goods. And just realize that the one who gave you the bag of goods can take it away from you at any time. It's called liberty. You can't do anything in this country unless you ask for permission. You don't have freedom. You're not free or brave. You know, you're just a slave in a system which you don't understand. And I'm mostly speaking to young people, because young people don't know. And I feel sorry for them, because I was once in their shoes as well. I did not know, but I appreciated and I loved the people who were there for me, who guided me in the direction I am right now, and put me in the path of wisdom and knowledge, right? And filled my plate with knowledge when I had no knowledge on my plate. That's the problem with these young people. They don't have knowledge on their plate. All they have is ignorance and darkness. And that's what happens. Ignorance is darkness. Because if you're in the dark, you're going to do all these dark things. But if you're in the light, as my friend said, in the light, or being enlightened, as the ancient said, is being the one with wisdom and knowledge and shedding it upon the earth. As Socrates did in ancient Greek, where Socrates was educating and teaching the young and the youth to question authority, to question government, to open their eyes and to open their consciousness. And what did the government of Greece do, ancient Greece do? They condemned Socrates to die. And before the government ended up trying to prosecute Socrates poisoned himself. And he died peacefully. But do you know what the government was accusing him of? Corrupting the youth. Because he was teaching the youth how to think, how to question, how to open their consciousness, how to find the divine, how to find the spirit in their life, right? Because this journey is only for the few. This journey is for the ones who are chosen. It's the apostles who guide the human race, not these teachers, not these full individuals who are thinking that they have robes of knowledge and only have partial parts of it, right? Because that's why they can't even speak for long periods of time, right? Because they're only teachers in the classroom. They're not teachers in real life. You meet them downtown when they're out shopping, whatever. They won't be talking to you on teaching terms, because they're only teachers in the school. And that's what I've come to realize. There's two types of people in this world when it comes to teaching. There's ones who love knowledge, and there's ones who love what knowledge may bring them, the money, the fame, the cars, all the etc. stuff that the world brings with hard works of living. But ultimately, one must understand, are you going to sell your spirit, your soul, the one God has divinely given you, for a bag of goods? Or are you going to wake up, get your spirit back, and allow God to guide you in His life, in His way? Because this new way, which man is being given by an external source, not the divine source, this source is taking us to a slave race where we'll lose our humanity, we'll lose our whole hope of ever gaining wisdom and knowledge. Because I believe, no doubt in my mind, that when freedom is gone, it's gone forever. Because there's nowhere else to run. Because America was the last piece, the last part and hope for the human race to ever be free. But how long did that last? So it tells you that we are in serious trouble. We need to wake up, we need to educate ourselves, we need to continue to open and guide the youth, because the youth are the ones who are going to change the future to come. Because I know how the system is purposely put together and how well financed it is. But I don't care how well financed it is. I know that there's a great divine spirit which has put us on this earth divinely and has given us discipline, rules, and morals that we must follow. You know, the common law of virtue per se. But ultimately, we have to guide the youth as Socrates did in ancient Greek. But from that, one can begin to understand that Socrates was the one who taught Plato, and Plato is what most people read in the schools today in philosophy class, and Aristotle as well, that taught Alexander the Great. But all I'm saying is that the more you begin to read, the more you begin to study, the more you begin to investigate in your history of who you are, of where you have come from, the more you begin to see lies everywhere. You have been lied to, you have been had, and you'll wake up one day and you'll realize that you have been lied to your whole entire life for someone's better interest, because they know what's going on, right? They have been born in a family where they know what's going on, and they have taught that child from day one, this is what it is, this is the game that you're playing. But I'm here for the ones who are born with nothing, the ones who are born with single moms, and the mother can't tell them anything because the mother doesn't know nothing, right? And that's what the concept of life is, because I believe that the only way these people can gain power is by dumbing down humanity, and it will get to a point where humanity is so dumbed down that is when they have reached their accomplishment of dumbing down the human race so much that they can't even fight back, even if they wanted to. They just simply become a slave race. They become robots, and they just become they become peasants to a dictator who's a tyrant and then wants to exploit the people through gaining wealth. Because I know what these people are doing, and ultimately I'm telling you, don't be afraid of government. Don't be afraid of all these people. They're just people. At the end of the day, Barack Obama and them, they're just people. Remember that. So I don't know how much we can go from there, but ultimately, yeah, this is a thing on social change. But social change is a very big subject because it goes into psychology, it goes into the metaphysics